What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, co-written by Reeves and Peter Craig, starring an all-star cast that includes Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Colin Farrell, John Turturro, and Jeffrey Wright. So The Batman pretty much takes place 2 years into Batman's career as a crime fighter, and he has to go after the serial killer known as the Riddler, who is targeting the elite of Gotham City. So yeah, that's the overall plot of The Batman. Let's talk about it. All right, so before I get into the movie itself, let me just give my bare bones thoughts on this film. I overall thoroughly enjoyed The Batman. Now, going into this movie, I did have a lot of reservations. So to give some backstory to how The Batman came to be, this movie was originally supposed to be done by Ben Affleck and be set in the DCEU, but after all the controversy went down, Ben Affleck was eventually booted off the project, and then entered Matt Reeves. Now, upon Reeves' entry, I was fine with this. I like Matt Reeves as a filmmaker. I enjoyed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I really enjoyed War of the Planet of the Apes. His two Apes movies were really, really damn good. So him being selected to take over the mantle of Ben Affleck, I was optimistic. And when he gave his interviews and he said what the mission statement was and what he wanted to do with the film, I was good. I was fine with it. He wanted to have the film be like a classic noir, focus more heavily on Batman's detective skills and not so much on his fighting prowess, but wanted have more of an even balance. This was all sounding like the Batman movie I wanted to see. And then the casting started to come in, and my first complaint was really Robert Pattinson, not because of his history with Twilight. I never seen him in Twilight. I never even seen Twilight in general to criticize the man. I mean, yeah, are those movies terrible? Yeah, you only got to watch a couple of clips of it to know that they're not good movies. But it wasn't really Pattinson as an actor that I was criticizing. It was the direction of, do I really want to see a young Batman again? I mean, Christopher Nolan did it fantastic with Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, which when you watch those two movies back together, that is really Batman Year One. The Batman Begins and Dark Knight takes place within a 1 year radius of itself. So that's Batman, that's young Batman done right. I want to see it again. That gave me some, reservations. I didn't really want to. I always found Batman to be more of an interesting character when he's at least 10 to 15 years into his career as a crime fighter and his psyche is like wearing out and he's just wearing himself out. That's the Batman I found interesting. This the world-weary, just borderline on psychopathic Batman. But with all that to the side, and when I finally saw this movie when it came out, I was legitimately impressed. Now, is this movie perfect? No, it's not. It does have things that I did not really care for, but as an overall package, I thought the Batman was fantastic. I thought Robert Pattinson in the role of Batman, he really brought his A game. What really impressed me with Robert Pattinson's performance is that how he took it serious. He didn't ham it up. He didn't try to overdo it. He played it totally straight. And he came across as very good. Like, he came across as very intimidating as this Batman. There are a lot of cool scenes in this movie where Reeves has him in a lot of shadows, and he shoots Batman like a monster, like a horror movie villain in a way. It's beautiful. It's the Batman I always wanted. It's something that Zack Snyder toyed with in Dawn of Justice with his version of Batman. Reeves just made a full-length movie about it with that same Batman, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. Of course, Pattinson's Batman is not as brutal or as psychopathic as Ben Affleck's Batman, but he does have that classic, but Pattinson's Batman does have that classic, brutality when he's taking down criminals, not killing them, but maiming them to make sure they don't do what they want to do, to make sure they don't do what they do ever again. So, in terms of Pattinson's performance as the Batman, I enjoyed it. I thought he was really good. Now, when it comes to his performance as Bruce Wayne, I was not really all that keen on it. I am not a fan of emo Bruce Wayne, of I want to cut my wrist Bruce Wayne. I just wasn't feeling it. I get the direction that they wanted to go with Bruce Wayne being like this reclusive, Kurt Cobain style rock star who does not want to be in the public light and can care less about it. But I always found the duality of Batman more interesting when he is the billionaire playboy philanthropist who loves the spotlight but only uses it to mask what he's really up to. Like, I enjoyed that aspect of Batman. Emo Bruce Wayne. No, he did have his moments here and there. I do like a lot of the scenes with Pattinson and Andy Serkis's version of Alfred. I wish that Serkis's version of Alfred would have gotten much more to do, but they did have a lot of good chemistry. And Serkis's Alfred did contribute a lot, especially when Batman's trying to solve the riddles that are given to him by the Riddler. So I do like a lot of those scenes, and I do like the scene in the hospital between Bruce and Alfred. I thought that was really well directed, well acted, and well handled. Really good stuff. So, but yeah, like even though I'm not overly enthusiastic with Pattinson's portrayal as Bruce Wayne, there is room for a lot of improvement and for him to grow into the charismatic billionaire playboy in later movies. As a groundwork approach, I wasn't really too keen on it, but the potential is there. I will say that the potential is there for Bruce Wayne to embrace the billionaire style of his personality as a way to mask the Batman side of personality. Like, the potential is there, the groundwork was there, and even though I wasn't too keen on emo Bruce Wayne, Pattinson did put in a good performance as that version of Bruce Wayne. I already mentioned Andy Serkis, who played Alfred. I enjoyed his performance in this movie. I wish he would have gotten much more screen time, to be honest with you. But in the scenes that he was in, I enjoyed it. And I also like the whole thing, and I like how the movie implies that Alfred was the one who trained Bruce Wayne to fight when everything all went down with his parents and with Falcone and the murder, which I'll get to momentarily. I like all that stuff. And like I said, the hospital scene between Alfred and Bruce is a really well done scene. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, Andy Serkis as Alfred, that, again, what we got in this movie, I enjoyed it. Obviously, there's more room for improvement in later sequels, and I like how this is a young version of Alfred, because we could potentially get this Alfred maybe in a fight scene or two. Because, they implied that Alfred trained Bruce, and it actually makes some sense because, if you go back to the comic books, Alfred has a history of being a spy and working for them and having a military-esque background. So I buy that. I buy that a lot. And I also like the fact how Alfred says, "Listen, I couldn't be your father. I didn't know what to do. I can only do what I'm capable of doing." I like all this stuff. It's another wrinkle to the Alfred and Bruce relationship, and you can clearly tell that these two men care for another. They really do. So yeah, good stuff by Andy Serkis. Good stuff. Zoe Kravitz, who plays Selena Kyle, Catwoman. I'm not a big fan of Zoe Kravitz as an actress. I mean, she's good. I'm not saying she's a bad actress at all. She's not. I think she's fine. In terms of her portrayal as Selena Kyle, Catwoman, she was okay. She was good. She was the best parts of her best. Like, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. There were moments where I thought that Zoe Kravitz's portrayal could come across as a little bit wooden and a little bit just bland, and then there were other moments where I thought she was actually pretty decent. Her and Pattinson, they do have some solid on-screen chemistry. It's not to the extent of Christian Bale and Anne Hathaway, or the great chemistry between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton in Batman Returns. But in terms of this movie, it works. It works for me. The best moments are really Catwoman's fighting scenes. I thought those were really well handled, especially the first scene where her and Batman throw the fisticuffs a little bit. Overall, I just think Selena Kyle's inclusion kind of got muddled in a way. I mean, this movie does make the revelation that Carmine Falcone is the father of Selena Kyle and also murdered her mother. That's cool. You could have that could have been Selena's sole purpose in this entire movie, and another reason to work with Batman to take Falcone down, since that Falcone in a way destroyed both their lives. Falcone orchestrated the deaths of Bruce Wayne's parents, and he killed Selena Kyle's mother. That's all the motivation Kyle needs. But then they throw in this subplot of Selena trying to find her friend Annika, and it just did not need to be there. Like, the Annika subplot is really worthless and useless and was not really needed at all. It really didn't need it. You already had a bond with the Falcone plot to unite Catwoman and Batman. You didn't need the whole Annika thing. That just served no purpose, in my opinion. So, like, in terms of that story aspect to Catwoman's character, I would have taken out the Annika subplot. It wasn't really needed because the Carmine Falcone one engulfed almost everything. I mean, the only thing the Annika subplot did was indict Falcone as a murderer, but you could have used anyone to fill in that role. You could have used anyone to fill in that Annika role without giving a muddled, just not even a useless relationship to Catwoman. Like, Annika and Selena are supposed to be like friends and lovers, but they barely share any screen time for me to care about Selena wanting to find this girl. When I was watching this movie, I was like, I don't care about this Annika character. Why is she? Why are we wasting time with this? Falcone being the heart destroyer of your lives is all I need. But yeah, so Catwoman's inclusion did not need the Annika character, and overall Zoe Kravitz's performance was solid. Nothing spectacular, but nothing great, but nothing horrible either. She was fine for what it was. For the role she was in, she was fine. When it comes to Paul Dano as Riddler, I love Paul Dano as Riddler. Number one, the whole aesthetic of this movie is straight out of a David Fincher film. This movie is heavily inspired by Seven and Zodiac, and when you look at the Riddler, you clearly can put the pieces together to know where Matt Reeves got his inspiration from, which is fine with me because I love David Fincher, and Seven and Zodiac are my two favorite movies by him. So yeah, Zodiac, Riddler, Paul Dano, I loved it. I loved Paul Dano's portrayal in this movie. I thought he came across as creepy, as chilling. He was channeling the more psychopathic tendencies of the Riddler, yet maintaining that intellect. And the whole him wanting to go after Gotham's elite because in his mind they're the ones that shunned him as a child and took away the life he should have had. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It fit into the whole thing of Riddler being an outcast in a way. I mean, I think I would have played more of him being an outcast due to his heightened intelligence. But for what it was, I enjoyed it. And Paul Dano did put in a great performance. And the scene that Paul Dano and Robert Pattinson share while Pattinson's interviewing him in Arkham, great stuff. Beautiful acting by Paul Dano. Really channeled his inner creep value. Hell. In this movie, you even get little hints of Arkham Riddler thrown in here and there with the death traps and stuff like that. So I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed Paul Dano's Riddler. You have John Turturro, who played Carmine Falcone, who I'd already mentioned who's the big mafia boss in this movie. I liked John Turturro in this movie. This movie showed that John Turturro is really damn good at handling very heavy dramatic roles. I thought he was fantastic in this movie. Very underrated performance by John Turturro. He came across as very, very just threatening and very intimidating as the Carmine Falcone character. And I like the whole thing of him wearing sunglasses as his own disguise to combat Batman disguise. I thought that was actually pretty cool and a nice little mirror image. And I like how Carmine is actually very integral into the origins of Batman. As the movie progresses, we find out that Thomas Wayne, the movie does take the comic book inspiration of Carmine coming to the Waynes because he was near death and Thomas Wayne operating on him. That's straight from the comic books. I like that. It also confirms what the comic books have been teasing for decades, is that Carmine is the illegitimate father of Selina. The movie confirms that. I enjoyed that a lot too. I like that. I like seeing these things come together. And I also like how the movie states that Carmine Falcone was the mastermind behind the Wayne's murder, because Thomas Wayne was running for mayor. Then a reporter uncovered some dirty details about Martha. Martha is an Arkham, and she also went insane. So Wayne went to Carmine as a way to, hey, can you shut this reporter up? Like intimidate him, just shut him up. Carmine took that as Wayne wanting him to assassinate this man, which is what Carmine did. Now, obviously, Thomas Wayne did not want the man to die. And Thomas Wayne was going to come clean and say, hey, listen, Carmine did this. I told him to take care of it. I didn't tell him to take care of it like this. And this is how Carmine orchestrated the murder of the Waynes. I enjoy that a lot. I like how he made Carmine like the more personal villain for Batman, like the personal vendetta villain for Batman. I enjoyed that. And I also like how he came into play with the Riddler's with Riddler's game as well. I thought all that was handled. I thought that whole web effect was handled really well. I mean, it could get convoluted in a lot of areas, but for the most part, Matt Reeves did a good job at making it make sense. Is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not overly keen on the making Thomas Wayne into a corrupted character, but that's just me from a personal standpoint. So yeah, John Turturro and Carmine Falcone, I enjoyed it a lot. Jeffrey Wright, who played Commissioner Gordon, I enjoyed it. I liked this version of Commissioner Gordon. I thought Wright and Pattinson had really good on-screen chemistry with one another. I like how this movie played into the whole thing of Batman being a detective and him working very, very closely with the Gotham City PD. I like a lot of the scenes with these two. I like how they work together as partners and how they solve the riddles along with Alfred when Bruce is with Alfred. All that stuff was handled really, really well. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, he put in a really good performance, really captured the essence of what the Gordon character is, which is the white knight cop of the Gotham City PD, the one who's incorruptible in a way. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. And now we get into who is my personal standout favorite out of this entire movie. That is Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. I loved Colin Farrell as Penguin. At first, I was not really overly enthusiastic. I'm like, Colin Farrell, really? I don't want to see sexy Penguin. I want to see fucking old man broken Penguin. I want to see old man ugly Penguin. But to his credit, the makeup design on Colin Farrell is outstanding. You would not know that was Colin Farrell underneath all that makeup. They did whatever they can to make Penguin kind of look like a sleazy New York version of Tony Montana in a way. And Colin Farrell's performance is a lot of fun. He is clearly enjoying himself playing this role, and he has some of the best quotes like "Take it easy, sweetheart," or "What is this? Good cop, batshit cop." And the whole chase scene with Penguin and Batman is awesome too. I love that chase scene; it's so good. I will put that right up there with the Batman choker chase scene from Dark Knight. That's how good that chase scene is in this movie between Batman and Penguin. I mean, I would have given Penguin much more screen time and more to do. But I do like how the end teases his rise to power. You know, especially since Riddler took down Carmine Falcone, and now Penguin's going to rise up to be the mob boss that he's always been. I can't wait for the Penguin TV show that's supposedly coming into HBO Max. It's going to explore Penguin's rise. I'm very much looking forward to that, and how that's going to play into the sequels that this movie's going to get also. I think Matt Reeves is onto something by making Penguin be the overarching big bad villain of his Batman series. I think that could be pretty cool. Like, really, really cool. Because I can't get enough of Colin Farrell's Penguin. I need more. I need more of Colin Farrell as Penguin. Because he was awesome. I loved him in this movie. Okay. Now, let's try and speed this up. So, in terms of the overall story of this movie, I enjoyed it. I like how this movie makes a lot of references to, like, Batman lore, like with the Maronis, and how Falcone worked with the government politicians to take down the Maronis in a drug bust that really benefited Falcone more than it did Gotham City itself. I thought that stuff was really cool. Then you got the whole subplot of this new mayor trying to clean up everything. You know, that was all right, I guess. It's really there to make way for Harvey Dent, who is going to come in, who is going to be in this. You cannot have, especially since the district attorney ended up being a dirty, corrupt politician. You need to have Harvey Dent come in as the White Knight of Gotham City, and then we see his fall from grace. Like, that's got to happen, and I can't wait to see that explored. And Matt Reeves is a fool to not even consider having that in a sequel or sometime down the line. Harvey Dent's got to be in this thing, and hopefully done right this time. But yeah, I digress from that. Like, from an overall story standpoint, it can get convoluted in a lot of areas, but overall, Matt Reeves and Peter Craig, they do try to make it make sense. The movie does have some very good dialogue in it, but it also has some very cringy dialogue, especially when Catwoman criticizes the white privilege of Gotham City. This line did not need to be in the movie. I thought it was forced, and it sounded forced. I hated it. But I hated it. In terms of the overall cinematography in this movie looks beautiful. It has that dark, gritty noir style. I like how it takes heavy inspiration from Seven, in which it's constantly raining, which adds a foreboding atmosphere to it. And it also has the atmosphere of Zodiac, especially with the Riddler. You know, I thought the cinematography in this movie was absolutely fantastic. Matt Reeves wears his influence on his sleeves, and I appreciate that to the fullest extent. I love all that. This is a beautiful looking movie from a visual standpoint. It's got that dark, noir, gritty atmosphere, and that's what you want in a Batman movie. So, yeah, now let's talk about the one thing before I wrap this up. So in this movie, Matt Reeves introduces us to his version of the Joker, played by Barry Cohagen. So after the Riddler's big plot fails and Batman ends up saving Gotham City after Riddler pretty much tried to flood it, and you got this big third act climaxing at Gotham Square Garden. By the way, this movie near the end, it had way too many fake endings, and I got kind of antsy with this thing. But yeah, the whole third act at Gotham Square Garden, it is kind of fun, in which we see a bunch of in which the Riddler gets captured, but he was posting him stuff online, kind of becoming himself a celebrity figure, and he ended up getting a lot of followers. So Batman and Catwoman team up to take on the Riddler, the cult of Riddler at Gotham Square Garden, which is kind of like over the top and ridiculous in a way, but it fit the tone of this movie, as Riddler being this person who is speaking out to the shunned. So it worked in a way. But yeah, After all that is said and done, we get Riddler talking to an unnamed Arkham patient, and it's revealed to be the Joker, played by Barry Cohegan. And in the brief moments that Cohegan had a chance to play the role, it's very interesting. And I wish Matt Reeves would have kept the deleted scene of Batman and Batman and Joker having their conversation. I think that could have fit well into the movie, and it could have further teased what's to come with the Joker character. I think Barry Cohegan could play a very interesting Joker if his character is to get explored in further movies and sequels. You got something here with Barry Cohegan's portrayal. It could be very interesting. Like, the look is very reminiscent of Death of the Family, in which Joker takes off his face and then stitches it back together again. This could be a very interesting and very sadistic, brutal version of Joker that we've yet to see, and I'm very intrigued to see what Matt Reeves will do with this character and what Barry Cohegan can do in this character in future installments. We'll have to wait and see if they go in that direction. But yeah, with all that being said, I enjoyed The Batman. I think this is a very damn good movie. It's one of the better Batman movies to come out in a very long time. And with all that being said, I'm going to give this movie I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it does have a lot of good things, and it is a damn good movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Batman. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.